Hello Sea Wolves, and welcome on board the Spirit of Amsterdam, my boat. Doing some boat work today. So if you're thinking why am I wearing a thermos, and well, because it's a pretty cool day out here in Amsterdam and I had to do some measurements and clean up some things, all in preparation of some refitting that is starting next few days. So really looking forward to that, and of course welcome on board. And I hope that you have something delicious ready in a beautiful cup, maybe even a Sea Wolf mug, who knows? Are you ready? Are you ready? Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Ooh, oh, nice. And boy, do we have some interesting developments in all of the different races that we're following. So today we have America's Cup, or Prada Cup, I should say. Again, we have the Jules Verne. Very exciting stuff happening there, and of course the Vendée Globe. So let's dive right in with starting with the Prada Cup. No, let's start actually with the Jules Verne today, and very good news there, because well, you all watched of course yesterday as the Edmond de Rothschild Merci Gitana 17 actually fell behind the old IDEX sport record a little bit because they had to take a slightly longer route through the doldrums. But as you can see here today, they are now at a, as the French say it so nicely, an avance of 205 nautical miles. So from about 40 miles behind. Actually at the biggest point I guess they were 63.4 nautical miles behind, but now finally they've built up a real lead, 200, a little over 200 nautical miles. Now, as I mentioned before, ideally they should try to get at least above 300, or anything above that is great as they go into the Southern Ocean. It does seem like, as you can see here, that the weather prediction for them downwards is very good, and we know from the prediction yesterday already that there's going to be pretty strong wind that way. So I would say that for the next 2 days or so they are set, and maybe they'll be able to pick up a bigger lead, 400, 500 nautical miles. That would be insanely good for the attempt. As once they get into the Southern Ocean, it's all going to be a lot more tight, and they have a lot less space to lose any miles there. So any more lead that they can build up over the coming days would be very welcome. So we'll have to see. But for now anyway, after the fear of yesterday, where I was feeling a little bit, probably you guys were feeling a little bit of like, ooh, I hope that they can kind of get out of it, and they did, as IDEX Sport previously got stuck in the doldrums a little bit also. So they did get stuck for a little bit. We have actually some cool footage from that also. Yeah, so you can imagine being stuck in that when you're doing a race record against a boat that's on average going 30 plus knots. Then you really don't want to be in any situation even remotely like that. But fortunately they made it through. They're well on their way right now. Let's look what their speed is doing. So right now they're doing 31.8 knots, and their 4-hour average at 32.8, and 24 average now 28.3 knots. I mean, we wish we'd done this type of speeds in the Vendée. So just incredibly fast sailing that the Edmond de Rothschild Gitana 17 is doing right now, and we'll see how it is tomorrow. But it gives a lot of positive energy and hope to see them doing so well. So that is very nice. Then let's move to the America's Cup, or the Prada Cup, of course, as that's the precursor where the official challenger of record will be chosen, and that will end up in the heat between the defenders, Team Emirates New Zealand, and whoever wins this Prada Cup. And we had another, well, quite surprising day, I would say, a bad day really for the Americans, as they were slotted to sail 2 races, one against Luna Rossa and one against Ineos UK again, and unfortunately lost both races. So not so much wind, and that really showed. So all of the boats kind of went off the foils at some point. It was a very slow floating race, as these AC-75s are great and super fast, and even in very light winds, like with 7-8 knots of breeze, they're able to foil and make ridiculous speeds of like above 20 knots. So that's cool. But when the wind dips below that, they just become very slow and almost kind of impossible to really sail. And so there were several moments where we saw one or even both of the boats you know, lose the foiling right before the start, during the race, during going around marks. There was certain part of the course in the second race especially that seemed to have very low wind, where every time they went near there they kind of went off the foils and had to really battle through there, all resulting in I guess that Luna Rossa won their first race against American Magic, so unfortunately American Magic lost that one. And then Ineos, after the big surprise in the first race day where they beat both of the teams, they now again beat American Magic in their race, putting Ineos, so the UK team, firmly ahead points wise in this race. So there are still some races to come. But as for the first days, Ineos has done absolutely amazing and find themselves now finally in the leading position. So if they keep going like this, they might end up actually being the challenger and actually having a real shot at winning this America's Cup, which would be very interesting and I guess a big upset also. So I'll keep an eye on it, let you know tomorrow how the next race day goes. But you know, very interesting developments anyway. Then let's move on to the Vendée Globe, and well, let's start with the sad news. Maybe some of you have already heard about it, but Sevastian Destramau, I was talking about it several times over the last few days. You know, erratic track, lots of different problems. We knew that he had some rudder issues, that he had problems with his autopilot. It looked yesterday as if he was gonna go for it, and we can look at his track actually here for a second. Like what I was looking at yesterday. So we thought for a second yesterday that he was going to go for it as he was passing the islands, and everything looked sort of relatively okay again. He published a video when he was going past an island, and you know, seemed to be smiling, seemed to be in good spirits. But I guess ultimately with all of the different problems, like I mentioned, and actually we had nobody retire so far in this particular point, which is a kind of a unique thing in the race, so that's super cool. But when passing New Zealand, going into the Southern Ocean, that's a real cutoff point, has always been for the Vendée, right? When you go past New Zealand and you decide to not take the option to postpone racing there, then you're committed. Then you have to get through the Southern Ocean, and we have to not forget that Sebastian was of course last in the race, so that means you're going into the Southern Ocean with the added risk that you are the last one in the race. So if something goes wrong, there is nobody you know, coming up behind you to help out. So that's another added layer of, you know, what will we do if we have some damage? You know, what's the risk of getting stuck in there alone, having to wait for a long time potentially for a rescue? And so it looks like all of that came together over the last 24 hours. And Sevastian Destramau bravely, I have to say, made the decision to stop racing and actually retire. And so his Vendée Globe 2020 race, his second Vendée Globe attempt actually, is now officially over. So unfortunate, but I think that considering all the circumstances, you know, it is what it is.
Ça c'est bon ça! C'est bon ça! C'est bon!
So yeah, too bad to lose him out of the race, but I think he did amazingly, you know, considering his circumstances and the fact that really, like 4 weeks ago or something, pretty early in the race as they were going to the South Atlantic, he started to get one problem after another, and he's been holding on, you know, fighting like a lion since then. But yeah, if it just doesn't work, it doesn't work. At some point you have to, you know, kind of make the right decision and not risk your life there. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but that's what happened there. And so from all the way in the back of the fleet all the way to the front of the fleet to check how things are going there. Now many of you are going to be slightly maybe confused by this picture because what we're seeing here is that right now Charlie Dalin still in #1 position, yet if we look at the picture here, it's quite clear that Lewis Burton actually, slightly more to a northern position. Now, of course, that's because we're looking at distance till the end of the race, right? And so because France is obviously on the east side, Charlie is, if you calculate it like that, in a slightly better position. But it's one of those situations, we've seen it before, that it's, calculating the position in the race, let's say, until they actually pass the finish line, which is like an absolute boundary, let's say, in these type of positions. It's kind of hard with the weather to really accurately say, who is first in the race. So you have to kind of use a system and make a decision, and according to that system, Charlie Dalin still in first place. But if you look at the picture, you might conclude that Lewis Burton actually in a better position now. So I think that's how I would describe it also, that Charlie Dalin still technically in first place, but looks like Lewis Burton is actually in a more favorable position now. So looking very interesting. And we see that Boras also kind of extended his third position, so put a little bit more distance between him and Thomas Rouillant, and it seems that the three of them, or four of them, Thomas is kind of still running with them, are starting to pull away a little bit from the rest of the hunters behind them. So Damien Seguin and Yannick Besthaven also seems to have fallen back quite a bit now to sixth position, unfortunately. And behind there we have Giancarlo Pedotte, Benjamin Dutroux, and of course Jean Le Cam still in ninth. Now I know that of course many of you have the calculus on. So how is Jean Le Cam doing as far as distance and his allotted time? Right now he's at 270 nautical miles behind. So that's an added 30 or so miles since last time that I talked about this, and the fact that he has of course 16.5 hours of allotted time. And so I would say that right now he's still over, so he's not, by calculus he's certainly not in first position right now, but they're going to get, it's still going to be another 3 or 4 days, I think, until we get into circumstances where it might favor Jean Le Cam a little bit again, let's say, because right now, as far as average speeds, he's pretty much, just not as fast in these conditions, where we see all the foilers basically doing 19, 18, 17, 18 knots, 21 knots here for Boris, even 22.3 right now. And we see Jean doing, 16.5. He's a little bit less wind, but even if he was in the same conditions, these are ideal foiling conditions that they have now. So they are absolutely blasting ahead at speeds well over 20 knots, while Jean is just not really able to really push the speeds that high in these conditions. So it looks like at least for the next 2-3 days or so, Jean's not really going to have a chance to lessen the lead time of the leaders. But as they get to the doldrums, who knows what happens. And then, as you can see here, they're going to move into conditions that are more beating. And then, of course, generally we saw that in the battle with Boris and Jean, that he has a really good advantage there sometimes, depending on the wind strength. And we have quite a lot of relative beating ahead, as you can see here. And so that's going to be the area, that's going to be the field where Jean could really shine. But so that's what's happening in front, that's what the field looks like right now. Then if we move a little bit more down, we see that Armel and Clarisse Kramer have kind of made it out of that area with some low winds, and we see that Armel has found his way through that area at a considerably better position than Clarisse. So he is full speed ahead now, heading more or less for Maxime Sorel. And let's see what his speed is right now, 16.2, 4-hour average of 17.2. So he has, well, really good conditions, slight lighter patch there on his way, but I think that's going to more or less move with him, and he's going to get some stronger wind. So yeah, Armel is on his way, let's say, going for that final sprint towards the hunters, still going for it, so that's cool to see. Clarisse almost out of there, but her average speed still a lot, 8.6 over the last 4 hours against 16 on Armel. So both Armel and Clarisse doing good, coming through that system good, but Armel doing considerably better. Then if we, oh, by the way, the venue completely changed. What happened? So my computer motor ran out of juice right there, so I had to do some more jobs on the boat and then run back here to recharge it and be able to finish the show. So that's why the change of locale. But if we scroll down a little bit, we see that the group with Chirel kind of made it around this other system, and again, they have headwinds, so strong beating conditions for them, no easy path through there. And the same for Pip. She released actually a video about that yesterday.
Welcome to quite a serene evening on the Atlantic. I was hoping to share a beautiful sunset with you, but actually it's clouded over. It's been really nice all day. It's clouded over now. I'm heading north, and around midnight I'm going to tack and head to the west, because there's a very nasty little low pressure system developing to the west of me, and if I carry on north I'm going to get clobbered by like 50 knots of wind probably, and I don't want that. So I've got to go west. I've got no choice. Bit gutted about it, and I think, you know, I could have navigated this bit better. I am going to lose time, but there we go. It's done. Move on. I think the last couple of days, well, I guess the last weeks really, I lost a little bit of my mojo. Just with, I think it was just having all the problems on board. Just my focus started to just really zoom into the boat, and I was only focusing on what was happening on the boat and dealing with those problems, and I stopped looking outside and getting this global perspective on where I am and what I'm doing. So today I've just had a bit of a rethink of things, and I've been outside a lot. I've been just feeling the ocean and the air, and getting my head back into the fact that, you know, I've got 6,000 miles left to sail, and I will have sailed around the world in an IMOCA. And actually this stretch of water is quite a poignant stretch of water for me, because in about 2 days' time I will be level with Uruguay. And on the 2nd of January 2009 I left Uruguay in my boat, in my 40-foot cruiser racer, and I sailed single-handed to the UK, and that was the start of my journey to the Vendée. I'd never sailed overnight solo before. It was the first ever ocean trip I'd done on my own, and actually I came back through this stretch of water at the same time as the Vendée Globe competitors were coming back through that stretch of water as well. So for me to be here now, 11 years later, and sailing an IMOCA on the final stretch of the Vendée Globe is really special.
Talking about the fact so that yeah, she really doesn't have any good prospects through here, and we're going to have a storm that's going to have, as she said, you know, wind gusts 35 to 40, probably gusts up to 50 knots. So she really doesn't want to be in there, and so she's opting to go kind of around this system actually here. So don't mind this line saying that she's going to go west. She's actually going to go east. She's going to go west, and in going, you know, kind of in there and then around that. So no choice but to go closer to shore in that sense. But yeah, the fact that universally they just have kind of really bad weather here right now is really the key. So everybody ahead of this, from Claresse on, nice trades, easy way upwards, but it seems that the situation down here only really getting more unfavorable and complicated as it develops over the next few days. If you look through that again, you can see kind of strong winds coming up, fully flowing exactly in the wrong direction, so no way really for them to come up, and staying very strong for the next, well, 3 to 4 days really. Actually all the way up to even up to Wednesday. So if they're especially unlucky, why? Like well, like I said, so for the next 3 days or so, just strong conditions, constantly in the wrong direction, and only really getting worse and more chaotic and stronger in the wrong direction. So Pip, Tyrrell, Alan Rora here on the Bozaris, they're all going to have a real hard ride, and the distance between them and the leaders is really going to, you know, swell up over the next 3 days. So it's unfortunate, but it is what it is, and it's an unfortunate kind of, you know, breakneck in the you know, towards the end of the race, where we're going to see where they could have been maybe 3 days behind the leaders at the finish. This might put them at suddenly like 5 or 6 days behind the winners once they finish, maybe even more. So unfortunate, but it is what it is. So the 3 gents here moving up nicely. They're the only ones kind of having Kajiro Shirishi here, we have Stefano Darijon and Dida Costa. They are the only ones in this area kind of past the Cape who are having at least wind that is in the right direction. So obviously they have a low here that they just passed, and Shihiro is still going into that with very strong winds also. So you have also 35 to 40 knot gusts in here, but at least the wind for them is in the right direction. So especially for the 2 guys up here, they have at least a day and a half or so of good sailing with wind from a favorable-ish direction to make their way more north. So that's kind of nice for them. But after that, they're going to get into the same trouble that Pip is in right now. And then we see Manuel Cosin. So he came past the Cape nicely and safely. No big news there. Same goes for Miranda Marin and Clement Giraud. Both very close to the Cape right now, and I thought that they were not going to have too much trouble. No, weather prediction for them seems pretty nice. And yeah, so then we only have 2 more sailors behind there since Sevastian Destramau has retired. So we see here Alexia Berrier and Ari Heusela, and both of them in goodish conditions right now. Pretty strong weather for them, but that should go down. Yeah, so it looks like most of the worst of it is behind them. They might get some strong winds like 7-8 hours from now for another 3 or 4 hours, and then the worst should be behind them, and it should be pretty much good sailing conditions for them again for the next 36 hours or so until this bigger storm kind of comes up as they start to get back to the Cape. But then we're talking 2-3 days ahead again, so not much we can say for sure about that. And so yeah, that is the state of the race right now. Again, really too bad for Sebastian Destramau that he had to step out of the race, but on the other hand, I think it's kind of you know, a wise decision. Then, of course, Isabel Joschke and Sam Davis, because many of you have been asking me about that. Unfortunately, Sam is only doing really French video updates, so I sent her a message. We'll see if we can get some English video actually from her directly. Let's hope for it, but so far she doesn't have time yet, I guess. But Isabel is doing well, so on her way, like I said, to Brazil, most likely Itajaí, but safe on board, no major new developments there. She's just safely trying to make her way towards land. And as for Sam Davis, let's take a look, because I also don't exactly know where she is. Okay, so she's actually about to pass. Yeah, so she's right around Point Nemo right now. There, I'll bring you in here. There you can see her. So she seems to be doing nicely, sailing 12 knots right now. I haven't heard of any damage or any problems, but of course she's not really racing the boat so much, so she's not pushing super hard right now. But I guess she's sailing very closely to Ari Heusela and Miranda Marin. Actually passed both of them now, so just past Point Nemo, and no problems or anything like that to report on. And like I said, I'll look to see if I can get some actual English video update from her at some point in the next few days. That would be nice, I think. So that's it for the Vendée Globe update today. Then, of course, what many of you are waiting for, the news on the Seawolves Childhood Training Sailing Day in April. So we're still putting the final screws to the actual time slots, because I was made aware also that my program was maybe slightly too ambitious for the crew. So we're still working through the motions there to make a schedule that's fully doable for the crew, and so we don't overstretch anything. But other than that, the schedule that I told you guys about yesterday is probably going to hold. So probably going to be 2 days with an overnight in the middle, and then shorter workshops on both days, and a longer offshore experience in the night between the 2 days. So we're working on the final details. No real update on the prices yet, but I think tomorrow, so Sunday show, I'll be able to give you guys the exact schedule. And then we'll have the website also up so that you guys can, reserve a spot if you're ready for that. And I'll also, of course, through all of you that have emailed me, I'll give you the update as soon as it's online, so you can check out the options there. So that's it for today. Thank you all, SeaWolves, again very much for watching. Make sure to please like the videos and put a comment to help the YouTube algorithms get us more on top in the search results, etc. And for all the other information and previous shows, go to seawolvestv.com. Also for the amazing Seawolf mug and other stuff that you can get to help the channel grow and develop. Oh yeah, one more really cool thing. So very likely Will Harris of Sea Explorer Yacht Club de Monaco will hop on the show on Tuesday or Wednesday to talk about the strategy and the final race of the race, let's say. So the race that's going on now, really for the lead, with Boris, of course, in position 3. I thought it would be interesting to get together with Will again and do a bit of a technical discussion about that last part and different strategies that Boris might consider to actually win this race, maybe, and become the first French racer, a non-French racer, I should say, to win, which would be a real upset also. So look forward to that, hopefully on Tuesday, on Wednesday. I'll keep you updated. Okay, that's really it for today. Thank you all very much for watching, and have a great day today, and I'll see you all tomorrow with a delicious cup of coffee. Ciao!